Everyone, welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. Justin, big deal. Number one wide receiver in the 2027 class, Easton Royal, commits to Texas. Absolute baller. And of course, if you always want the scoop, I want you to head over to Inside Texas right now. You can always get the best recruiting tidbits and you'll know what's going on. You'll see Justin, Charlie, and all of that. All right, Justin. Let's not play around here. Let's roll the tape. This kid is a legit baller. What's going on with him?
Yeah, so this is a big deal, Homer. You know, we always like Texas commitments. We always get to see a glimpse of the future of what the Longhorns will look out like. And then you watch this kid's film, and buddy, it's a good time. Easton Royal is the number one rated wide receiver in the nation. He's the number one prospect in Louisiana. He's also the number 7 overall prospect in the country. And it's so easy to see it just by watching his clips and watching his tape. 5'11", 180, 185, 10'2", 10'3 kid on the track. Just absolute legitimate baller. Texas in the 2026 cycle went more kind of a developmental role, guys that they can grow and kind of go into the system. You know, the Chris Stewarts, Jermaine Bishop potentially plays early, but you know they were a little bit more reserved. They went big game hunting with this one, 2027. They wanted to make a splash. Easton Royal's been on campus a handful of times. After that Texas A&M win, it was the perfect storm, and he gave Chris Jackson and Steve Sarkisian his commitment.
Yeah, just watching the tape, you know, you'll see speed receivers and they're kind of like slight and frail looking. He doesn't have that appearance, and he has incredible body control. He moves really, really well. It makes sense if he's a 10 to 100 meter guy that he's pretty sound, but he's able to beat guys off press here. He has strong hands when he catches it too. All of these things. This guy has future first round tangibles.
Yak monster. This is a yak monster. Here he is catching it off a jet sweep. He lines up in slot. He lines up on the X. He lines up outside. This kid is a versatile kid. And understand the disclaimer. This is a 2027, okay? And so he's an out-of-state wide receiver. So this is going to be one that Texas is going to have to hold on to loosely. But again, you know, there was a lot of things that worked in Texas' favor. This is third time he's been in Austin this year already. He's been getting really close with wide receiver coach Chris Jackson. Really, really liked the offense, paid attention to the receivers getting better. And then Arch Manning. Believe it or not, he's a big Arch Manning fan. A lot of people from the New Orleans area are. He watched Arch when he was in middle school, and so that ref just ate it to his heart. Man. Yeah. He was as excited about this commitment as we are. But, you know, just a big fan of Arch Manning. And then to see Arch in his element, like it's easy to see what we saw on Friday night, you know, in that big win over Texas A&M. That's who we've been seeing Arch for the last, you know, three months roughly, or 2.5 months. Easton Royal has been paying attention to that. Now, LSU and Ole Miss, they love him. They're not going anywhere. They're going to keep pushing. But there was just something about Texas to Royal that kept bringing him back to Austin. Something about the offense and Sark and Arch and Chris Jackson, and it just weighed on his heart. And he told Inside Texas Friday night, he had to pull the trigger. He had to jump into the class.
Well, and thank you to the fans at DKR. It was absolutely wild during that.
Oh yeah.
So for bringing that, it matters on the field and it matters off the field whenever these recruits can see that. And it seems like to me, Sark's getting back to kind of his recruiting pattern with this style of receiver. We kind of did some different stuff with Chris Jackson in this past class.
Right.
And then, don't get me wrong, we have some Bishops and stuff like that. But you were saying he kind of has that fluidity of like a Waddell or something like that too, and how he moves. So this kind of, to me, is kind of a textbooky Sarkisian receiver when we think about his preference.
Absolutely. I mean, to me, there's some Xavier Worthy there. I don't think he's the, you know, blur, straight line, fastest man at the NFL Combine, but he's fast and he's got body control. You said Jalen Waddell. I see some Jalen Rager, former Waxahachie wide receiver, played at TCU, played for the Eagles for a minute. Just really good body control. But this is the kind of guy that makes big plays. This is the kind of kid that can play as a freshman at Texas. He can play early. And if you look at the depth chart, Texas returns virtually everybody next year, like top to bottom. And then they're going to graduate a chunk. And Royal will have the opportunity to come in, and if he enrolls early, he can play early. That's a big thing for him. And I think that helps Texas. I think it helped him in this recruitment.
Well, you see the usage of him too, right? A lot of screen, a lot of, like you said, sweep type of stuff. Sark loves that. And then you'll see several things on him on the goal line, winning within 5 yards. That's a big thing for me. Can a skilled receiver beat someone pressed up? And he's been able to do that as well. So he has a lot of stuff on tape that I like to see. When you hear a smaller stature, right, you're kind of worried, but I haven't been. He's been catching stuff over the middle. He's been a confident player.
Look
I didn't
how
expect
far off they're playing.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed about those clips. They're playing 25 yards off. Okay, I love that, and we'll see what he looks like. When he gets it, he still has a senior season to play, so it's going to be fun to make another trip to New Orleans and check out Brother Martin and kind of go back to that area. But yeah, it's the versatility. And listen, every other cycle, Texas is going to go big game hunting. They're going to go for the best receiver. If it wasn't Evan Stewart, if it wasn't DeCorian Moore, if it wasn't Chris Henry Jr., Texas has a type. Sark has a type. And it's guys like this, because I think Royal can play inside and out. And I think that's valuable because you do need a certain amount of outside guys, some length guys that can get vertical, and you do need some inside guys that are a little more shifty, a little bit better in space. To me, Royal can do both of these. And I think that's one thing that made him so valuable.
Yeah, and Sark's going to love that because he wants to move the receivers around. And we're seeing a lot of him in the return game. So maybe he brings some stuff there at the punt game as well. So I think he's really versatile. This is a really awesome prospect. You surprised me when you told me about it. And so I went and watch this huddle. I'm not as versed on 2027. And this is a hell of a 2027 to grab. Before we keep going, though, Justin, let's hear a word from our sponsor.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results: Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
All right, Justin, we're about to wrap on 2026 with National Signing Day approaching. Now we're turning the new leaf to 2027. Yeah. Big picture zoomed out. We got a full year plus to handle all of this. But macro view, what does this mean, landing him?
Yeah, so, a lot of Texas fans have been a little disheartened with how the Horns 2027 class has been building. Up until, about a month or two ago, Taven Epps, the edge linebacker out of California, out of Tustin, California, decommitted from Texas. I want to say he even flipped to Oklahoma. I can't remember. But that was the only commitment for 2027, and fans have been upset that they haven't been pushing. Just understand this. Texas has been connecting with a lot of these 27s, especially the elite. The top guys. There'll be a couple staff changes in the offseason. And I think what they're going to do in probably late December, early January, they're going to reset that big board for 2027. They're going to look and re-identify some different guys and different position groups, because there's going to be, you're going to have some guys leave in the portal. You're going to have some guys that want to potentially leave early for the NFL draft. Texas has 3 or 4 guys that could potentially do that and be day 1, day 2 kids. And so I think what you're going to see is they're going to take the no-brainers right now. If you're a 5-star, if you're in that upper echelon, Texas will bring you in and they'll take that commitment and they will ride with you until graduation. And I think that's why you're seeing it slow down a little bit. Don't be surprised if Texas takes their time with 2027. You're going to have to trust Sark on this. Number 1 class signed last year. They're going to have a top 5, top 7-ish signed class this year. You're going to have to trust Sark on that. Let them reset the big board. Let them get everything lined up for junior day, because that's pretty much signals the turning to the next class, essentially. Who comes in, who flashes. Sometimes you got guys that want to commit early. Sometimes you get guys that essentially just want to set their official visits for either late spring or in June. They want to take those trips, and then we see the decisions start to trickle out between July and August. And with NIL being as crazy as it is now, and in 2027, I think it's going to be bananas. I really do. It's going to be interesting to see how these classes shape out, but I'm going to tell you, you're going to have to trust Sark on this. I know fans are a little down on how the 2027 class has been building, but please remember they're juniors. And Texas is really good at those late senior evals. This isn't one of those, but just understand they take their time. They're thorough. And don't be surprised if they add a couple more probably around after junior day. But right now, Texas is just they want the big 12-point rack on the wall. They want that big marlin that it takes 4 people to reel in right now. And so Easton Royal being the first of this class of 2027, I don't think you could ask for a better start to a cycle.
Well, and Justin, it's good news when they have 10 minutes worth of clips and they're good. So that's a good sign. And the end, you notice the end was blocking. So I also love to see
you won't play at Texas. You cannot play for Chris Jackson if you don't block. Why did Ryan Wingo start as a freshman the last 6 games last year? Because he could block better.
Yeah, this was an awesome, awesome grab. Guys, head over to Inside Texas. We'd love to see you over there. All the recruiting stuff for you psychos. And 2027 is right around the corner. Thank you very much, Justin. And everyone have a great day.